Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Fisher. Welcome to my world and welcome to my first live stream on YouTube. Please bear with me. This is just sort of a bit of a test and kind of just me exploring a possibility of what I could be doing more often later this year. Now, I'm back around the new year. I did mention that I wanted to experiment a little with some more streaming options. If you followed me on Twitch, you guys know that I do regularly Twitch stream when I'm playing games like Marvel Strike Force or Mass Effect, the Mass Effect trilogy. But I also want to look into maybe doing some other types of streaming. I mean, Twitch is mostly for games, and some people do it for other chats and all. But I don't have a lot of subscribers on Twitch at least compared to YouTube. I've been putting more effort into my YouTube page ever since, more so than Twitch. But I am hoping that. I also looks like I've already got my first David. Welcome. David Deister, you're one of my subscribers. You comment frequently on my videos, so thank you very much for joining me. And I am in the middle of watching Has Been Hotel. I just started streaming it earlier in the week. I'm not through it yet, but it definitely has me intrigued. One of the things I have been trying to find I'm always kind of on the search for new shows, and once football season ends, I kind of look for them. And Hotel Has Been has definitely been a show that has caught my attention, and I've already talked about in a previous video how much I disliked Captain Fall. I really had high hopes for that show, but my God, it was so disappointing. So I'm hoping Hotel Has Been, based on what I've seen so far, it's been great. I've been very encouraged by the few episodes I've seen. I'm only about halfway done, so don't spoil it for me, David, if you've already seen it. And depending on how I feel afterwards, I'll look into maybe making a video. So that's sort of my plan. But I do have other plans that for videos. I do have more creepypastas in the works. I know I've kind of staggered the release of those lately, mostly because I've actually become quite fond of voicing my creepypastas. And some people have said that they like how I can articulate my voice for certain parts, but others, it does need some. In case you didn't notice, I do stutter quite a bit, and I do my ability to articulate in real time is not great. A lot of the videos you see are I do have to edit them so they sound coherent, and I don't sound like an idiot, and that is tricky. But I do want to look into maybe doing more of these live streams. I have actually reached out to some friends of mine. If you've seen me on Twitch, my good friend Agent G. I've known him for almost 20 years, and I'm hoping to. I've talked to him about possibly joining me as a sort of a live chat. I've talked to my good friend Mine Thunder, who also frequents my Twitch streams. I've also been other people I've met on Reddit, on social media. Some of them I would love to meet up with them just to talk comics, because I do. I do try. I have been some of the videos I've been doing lately. I've been following the Ultimate Marvel release, and I've enjoyed making those. Since the new Ultimate Marvel was announced, following that story it's been fun, and it certainly has helped me get a solid audience. So I hope to expand on that, and maybe I can do more of these live streams. But one of the things but the main reason I also want to do this is I do want to try to test things out so that when I get some friends together, we can talk about a specific topic, be it recent X-Men comics or be it a new movie. Because I know today is the day of the Super Bowl. I want to talk about that in a bit, but I do want to note that. And a lot of more people seem to be more interested in the Deadpool 3 trailer and other movie trailers, but Deadpool 3 has been getting most of the media attention, and for very good reason. Now, I'll have plenty to say about Deadpool 3. Maybe I'll dedicate a future live stream to it. If I get my buddies, Agent G and my buddy and some other buddies on the line to chat about it, I'll gladly set that up. And if anyone here wants to join me in a live chat, if you're on Discord, that's probably the easiest way to do it. I've set up share chats on Discord before with friends and also while I'm playing games. If you've seen my Twitch streams, you kind of probably know that. But I am trying to get something together, something that can be a little more communal. But in the meantime, see the logo, you see the title. I do want to talk a little bit about Super Bowl LVIII. Now, full disclosure, I do have to get off at around 4 o'clock my time. I'm in Eastern Standard Time because I got to start preparing my meal plans. I've got some cooked chicken wings that I've got to prep for the oven. I've got some snacks I got to prepare to set up. I also have been limiting calories. So yeah, I've been going. I call it my pre-Super Bowl fast, where I eat very little. I think I've only had a sandwich and some coffee for that has been my meal so far. But I know I'm going to be definitely pigging out later today during the game. If I time my buffalo wings just right, I'm going to they'll be ready just in time for the national anthem. And I'll definitely be. I'm probably going to set the pregame up relatively soon. But yeah, watching the Super Bowl. If you've seen the video I posted a few days ago, it is one of my favorite times of the year. It is an event that I've been part of since I was a kid. I told my mom this. Yeah, she actually came over to visit recently, and she said. Years ago when I was just still a little kid, my dad, his dad, my grandfather, my uncles, they would all basically set up the basement of my grandparents' house into like a football den. And that's kind of where, as a kid, and same for my siblings, we would just hang out, watch games. And some of my earliest memories are of my dad yelling at the TV along with my uncles and my grandpa. But that was a good times. But the thing is, I've followed the Super Bowl so closely since then that I can remember. My brain is wide awake. I can remember MVPs. I can remember scores. I can remember which games were the most exciting and which games were not. I've already mentioned like the 49ers Chargers game in I think it was Super Bowl 28 or so, 29. That game was over by halftime. Go even further. When it was the Seahawks and the Broncos in 2013, that game was over by halftime. Peyton Manning picked a hell of a time to have his worst game ever. But man, that was sad to watch because, you know, the Broncos had such a great year that year, and then to just have your worst game in the Super Bowl, and the Seahawks looked like they were on another level that year. Of course, it kind of collapsed the next year, but that's not their fault. They did that. It was Malcolm Butler who ruined that dream. Yeah, that's another thing I don't like about my brain. I can remember the names of like Malcolm Butler, who made the interception and to get the Patriots the Super Bowl win in 2014. I can remember Devin Hester, who is now in the Hall of Fame, taking the opening kickoff of Super Bowl 41 back for a touchdown. I can remember Tracy Porter getting a pick six to seal Super Bowl 44 for the New Orleans Saints. I don't like that. I can remember those details so vividly, but at the same time, I had a hard time remembering stuff for school, and I had a hard time remembering stuff for quizzes and classes. It's like if it doesn't involve football or comic books, my brain does not process it efficiently. That's just me. But this time of year, you know what? I will make an exception. I mean, I've been following this season for a while, and I feel like another reason I wanted to do this stream, I also kind of want to do a little post-mortem on the on the NFL season. Let me bring up the ESPN.com real quick. So yeah, by the way, I'm using OBS, so I'm still getting used to the functionality. So if something looks a little messed up, that's why. I'm just kind of getting used to this. But you look at this matchup between the Niners and the Chiefs, and I guarantee you nobody wanted this matchup. And if you had been following the season, you would never have thought this was a likely matchup. Maybe you would have thought the 49ers in the Super Bowl, I probably could have seen it, but the Chiefs did not look like the Chiefs of the past 4 years this year. They really didn't look like anything special. So it kind of leads me to wonder, what was it because the competition didn't step up, or was it just because the Chiefs, they're used to being in they're used to going to the AFC Championship game. They're used to playing championship football. I mean, they're kind of now in the same position the Patriots were between like 2004 or like since 2003 all the way till 2018. And it's not this, they were always in the mix. But what did surprise me over the course of the season is how the Chiefs' defense really stepped up. That was the difference maker in the playoffs. Their defense, they were able to stop Buffalo when it mattered. And their defense was able to stop Miami when it mattered. Both those games were games that the defense won. Yeah, of course, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce did their thing, but those two alone are not enough to win a Super Bowl. Those two are two players who can only really they can win, but you need the whole team. NFL football is a great offense is not going to win a Super Bowl, but a great team is going to win a Super Bowl. That's always really been the case. I mean, I think back some of the best offensive teams of all time. You think of the 2007 Patriots, the 1984 Miami Dolphins. I mean, those teams were great offenses, but their defense was subpar, and they choked at the worst possible time. And I really do feel like, at least for the Chiefs, they did get a little lucky in the sense that they played teams that were struggling. The Buffalo Bills, and I got a lot of Buffalo fans in my family, they were heartbroken at the game, but at the same time, I kind of felt like, the Bills' defense they were hurt. They had lost a lot of players. I just could not see them stopping the Chiefs. Not as long as, they had Mahomes and Kelce were healthy, they were going to have the edge. They needed that defense to make some plays, whether it was a bunch of sacks or a turnover here and there. They didn't. None of them made the plays they needed to make when the time came. That's why they lost. And same with the Dolphins. The Dolphins, to be fair, they were playing in like sub-zero weather, and they're from Miami, of all places, and they were that was an uncomfortable. Just watching that game was uncomfortable, and not just because it was on a bullshit exclusive streaming service, but what I did not like, or what I didn't like watching was that Dolphins team clearly was not prepared. They underperformed at a bad time, and the weather did not help. So I do feel like the Chiefs got lucky there, and I wouldn't say the Niners got as lucky. In fact, I would say the Niners the Niners definitely earned their spot in the Super Bowl. Throughout the whole season, they were probably the most consistent team. Now, they did have their share of bad games. I think if they had a low point this season, it was on, I think, Thanksgiving night when they played the Baltimore Ravens, and the Baltimore Ravens utterly smoked them. They forced Brock Purdy to throw 4 picks. That was by far San Francisco's worst game. And I remember after watching that game, I thought, if this is a Super Bowl matchup, it's not going to be close. But the Ravens, my Baltimore Ravens, this is where it gets where I was kind of not worried about doing this, because the Ravens losing to the Chiefs was not fun to watch, because the Ravens, they've kind of become the AFC equivalent of the Cowboys, just slightly better, in the fact that they underachieve at the worst possible times. I mean, watching the Ravens over the course of the regular season was so much fun because they were routinely blowing other teams out. They blew out the Lions, who made it to the NFC Championship game. They blew out the 49ers. They played every team so well. They're one of the most balanced teams, and they've always had good defense, but their offense under Lamar Jackson has been just incredible. So I really just felt like, if the Ravens can't make a push for the Super Bowl this year, I don't know what they can do. And because it is frustrating, they have Lamar Jackson was an MVP. The offense was better than it's been in almost since Joe Flacco's heyday. And now then they just watching them against the Chiefs. I never got the sense that they were going to win. The Chiefs were. It feels like they were just more calm and collected and poised, whereas the Ravens they could not get out of their own way. They underachieved at the worst possible time, and I don't like that they have had this reputation. I think the worst, like back when I think it was in 2019 when the Ravens came into got into the playoffs. They were riding high. Then they play against the Tennessee Titans, and the Titans just ran all over them with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry just smoked them, and they blew the Ravens out when they had quite possibly one of their best. They had one of their best seasons, at least in terms of record and statistics. But it was just frustrating to watch. It's just frustrating to watch the Ravens. On paper they're good. They got John Harbaugh, such a great coach, and now. And they just could not get away from the Chiefs. The Chiefs, it's at a point where they are expecting to win. They know they're going to win. They are very much, intimidation is kind of their big spot. People seem overwhelmed when they play Mahomes or Kelsey or Travis Kelsey, and I don't know. It feels like though if a team is going to beat the Chiefs, it's going to be a team like San Francisco. Now, say what you will about Brock Purdy, but he has led his team on comebacks. He has been able to keep up with good offenses. He's made the throws he needs to make, and they've got a great running game. They've got some of the best playmakers in the game. But I do think some people are sitting on the Chiefs' defense. I mean, they've won games defensively. It's not like a few years ago. When the Chiefs lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game a couple years ago, that was their defense. The Chiefs' defense really let them down, and last year, their defense let them down too, but their offense made up for it. But the defense did pull through when it had to. But this year, it's been more of the defense. They've kept the score low, and they've let Mahomes. If you keep the score close, Patrick Mahomes is eventually going to be Patrick Mahomes. And whenever I've done my NFL prediction video that I usually do before the start of every season, I always say, Patrick Mahomes is awesome, and until he stops being awesome, I'm going to keep noting that he is that good. There's just no way around it. And until someone finds a way to figure the Chiefs out, they're going to be contenders every year. Hate them all you want, but they are good. And there's a reason they've gone to the AFC Championship game, 5-6 years in a row? And they're going to keep getting there until another team finds a way to catch up to them. Now, I don't know which team that's going to be. They're in a division that's not exactly dominant. I mean, I thought people kept thinking the Broncos were going to be a team to reckon with when they traded for Russell Wilson. And I actually, I thought Russell Wilson. I thought when the Broncos first traded for Russell Wilson, I picked them to win the division that year, and I was dead wrong. I really apologize for that prediction. This year, the Broncos, they started horribly, but they did kind of put it together towards the end. They did have I won't say a good year, but it was a respectable year in the terms of how they finished. But between them, the Raiders, and the Chargers, I don't see a team in that division challenging the Chiefs. I also don't see there aren't many other teams in the AFC other than the Ravens that can challenge them. But the Ravens, they got to start putting it together in the playoffs. I mean, even the Bengals have had better luck in the playoffs than the Ravens. And the only reason that I think the Bengals had a down year is just because Joe Burrow was playing hurt. Some people forget that he injured himself in the preseason, and I get the sense Joe Burrow was not 100% this entire season. I think when we look back on this season, we'll see, at least for the Bengals, they'll see Joe Burrow was definitely playing hurt. And but he's a tough guy. He's going to try and play through it. That's just how players like that are. But I feel like if the Bengals can get Burrow into the season healthy and he can stay healthy, that's a much tougher division for the Ravens. That's a much tougher division for everyone. And, the AFC North is one of those divisions that always seems to be competitive. Even the Browns they made it competitive this year with their defense. And there's a lot I could say about Deshaun Watson that would not want to get into, but I feel like he is not earning that contract. I mean, the Browns traded for him. They gave him all that money, and he's still kind of. I feel like if you'd kept Jacoby Brissett, the Browns would have been just as good. That's how. That says more about Watson than it does about the Browns. But I don't know about the Browns going into next season. They've got the defense, but I don't know how much longer they can keep shouldering Deshaun Watson in that big ass contract of his. I really do feel like they need to figure out, either restructure that contract or find a way to get more out of Watson, because the rest of that division is going to catch up with you. I mean, the Steelers they've had a winning season almost every year under Mike Tomlin, and they're going to they may not have a quarterback now, but they're going to find a quarterback eventually because they're the Steelers. And the same goes for the Bengals have a quarterback, but it's that division's only going to get more competitive. And I could say the same about the NFC North. I feel really bad for the Vikings this year because they lost Kirk Cousins. He was really even if you don't like him as a quarterback, you got to like the guy as a person. He is one of the most likable guys in the NFL, and he's kind of like the anti-Deshaun Watson when you look at him. But he also up until this year, he was one of the healthiest and most consistent quarterbacks in the NFL. And when he hurt his Achilles, that was so devastating. But at the same time, even before that happened, you could tell the Vikings were not the same team they'd been before. They had been losing. Their defense was horrible. They were giving up so many points and basically forcing the offense to win the game for them. And as their offense was good, but not that good. I mean, even the Chiefs need some complimentary football from their defense, and they did not get any of that at all. So I am, I do kind of feel bad for Cousins and I do feel bad for that Vikings because they have some pieces, but that division has gotten a lot tougher now. Jordan Love and the Packers, that team really surprised me. I did not expect the Packers to be that good. I expected the Packers to be good eventually, just not this season. For them to not only make the playoffs, but make some headwind and beat Dallas, that's impressive. But that's another story with Dallas. Now, if you're a Cowboys fan, I apologize in advance, but listen, I've said this in multiple videos when I've predicted NFL seasons, but the Dallas Cowboys, they are the most consistently inconsistent team in the fact that they always underachieve in the playoffs. Like I was not surprised they had a great regular season. I mean, watching them over there, they were blowing teams out, especially at home. On Thanksgiving, they looked unstoppable. But then at the same time, they would go on the road and they would lose big time to the 49ers among them. And we've been seeing this. This has been happening since the Tony Romo era. The Cowboys will have a great regular season. They'll come into the playoffs with so much going for them, and then they face what should be a beatable opponent, and they just choke. And they've choked before. They choked against the Giants in 2007 when they went 13-3. They choked against the 49ers a few years ago when that was a pretty close game. It was a one-score game going into the fourth quarter. But this year, they got absolutely smoked by a 7 seed. The Packers, they just ran all over them. I mean, I swear, I was watching the practice squad of Dallas on that game. You never got the sense that they were going to come back. And I know that guy. I saw a lot of people were yelling from Mike McCarthy's head. They wanted him fired after that game, and I don't blame them because, the Cowboys, at least in the regular season, have been a really good team these past few years, ever since they found Dak Prescott. But I mean, and it's not like other than the Eagles, it's not like they're in a tough division. And but then they have a chance to make some in the playoffs, and they just get smoked. That was really rotten. That was not a good look for them, to say the very least. So that's that's par for the course for Dallas. And until they prove they can actually play well in the playoffs, I can't get too excited about, no matter how good they do in the regular season. Nothing would I can't take them seriously. I still the Eagles is in that same division. I got to be careful because I got family in Philadelphia, but the Eagles, I can't remember the last time they collapsed this badly. I was really surprised at how quickly their season went south. I mean, they were 10-1 at one point. They looked like they were going to be the top seed again. And they made it to the Super Bowl last year with this team, but after the 49ers shows how good they are. They seem to lay out the blueprint on how to beat the Eagles, and a lot of teams took notice. The Eagles just could not move the ball as well as they did. They weren't making big plays, and the defense just was not as dominant as it used to be. And I follow the Eagles almost as closer than most because I got family in Philadelphia, but they got a lot of free agents coming up. That team is going to be very different in terms of personnel next year. And I don't know. This could be a season where it could either go really great or really poorly. Kind of depends on what they do in the offseason. But that's the other thing about the NFC East is it's always been in flux. There's always been like teams that are really good and really bad. This year, Washington was terrible, which I'm never sure about Washington. And I got to follow because because the two teams I probably follow most closely are the Ravens and Washington, simply because I live near both teams. But Washington kind of, for one, that they have no home field advantage. I don't know if you've ever seen FedEx Field. That is not a good stadium to be like. Every time I see a Washington game, and by the way, I don't call them the Commanders. I hate that. That's a stupid name, by the way. But their home field is horrible. Like FedEx Field is quite possibly one of the worst stadiums in the NFL, at least in terms of the fact that you don't have an advantage. Every time I see a Washington game, I just see their opposing fans dominating the stadium. You can't win if you don't have a home field advantage of any kind. And that is something, I don't know how they're going to fix that. I know they had, I think it was Dan Quinn as their new coach, but they don't have a quarterback. They had the worst defense in the league. They need to overhaul a lot. But, we've seen in the NFL, teams can turn it around. Just a few years ago, the Jacksonville Jaguars were one of the worst teams in the NFL because they made the dumbest possible decision, and they hired Urban Meyer, and I don't care what anyone says, that was one of the worst coaching hires ever. I mean, maybe Bobby Petrino was worse, but Urban Meyer, if you can't succeed in that situation in Jacksonville, you get Trevor Lawrence, you get a bunch of cap space, you got a team with a good core, you should be at least go 8-8. But Urban Meyer found a way to lose with that team, and it's just inexcusable. So it does kind of feel like Doug Peterson has got that team kind of back on track. But that's another thing that happened with the Jags. I mean, they were kind of my pick a couple years ago, but this year you could definitely tell that Trevor Lawrence was playing hurt. In the last few games of the season, I think he hurt his ankle, and it showed. He was not the same quarterback by the last 3 games of and honestly, I did not want them. I think if they made the playoffs, they'd have gotten blown out in the first game. There's no way Trevor Lawrence was going to be able to heal from that injury before the playoffs to go on a run. And I don't know what else they can do. Maybe Peterson can figure out a better way to make that team work. But they have some holes they got to fill, at least in terms of depth. But they got to find a way to keep Trevor Lawrence healthy, because the AFC South, that is a wide open division. Mike Vrabel left Tennessee, the but the Texans, they turned it around. That's another team that was able to turn it around quickly. They landed C.J. Stroud and D'Amico Ryans as their coach. It worked. It worked remarkably well. I mean, this happens at almost every NFL season. Like the Houston Texans this year, they were the big story. They turned it around faster than I think anyone thought they could. They have themselves a really good base to build on, and C.J. Stroud looks like he may have broken the long-standing curse of Ohio State quarterbacks. I mean, going back to the days of Art Schlichter, who he was quarterback before I was even born. So, yeah, maybe that'll finally change things up a bit. But I don't claim to know. He could be a one-year wonder. You don't know if he's going to be Andrew Luck or Robert Griffin III. But the Texans have a chance to make some hay in that division. I do think the Eagles have a chance to retake the NFC East, but they got to be careful, because we've seen the Giants and Washington turn it around real quickly. The Giants are kind of a wild card. They had a lot of luck go against them this year after overachieving last year, but I feel like if they can get some depth get just a few. They're just a few skill players on offense and maybe a skill player on defense away from being a contender again. But it will take a while for them. That's most I can say. And with respect to the AFC, the NFC West, it's the Niners until someone dethrones them. I don't know who else is. I know the Seahawks. They hired Mike McDonald. They've got Geno Smith, but that team is not nearly as talented as the Niners, and it's going to take a while to knock them off their perch. And in the meantime, I do kind of feel sorry for the Buffalo Bills. It feels like their window is closing after. After making it, they made it to people forget they were in the championship game back in 2020. They were close, but they can't get. They face up against the Bengals like they did last year, or they face the Chiefs this year. It's like there's another one of those teams that's just underachieving in the worst possible way. So, yeah, that's kind of been my take on the season. I had definitely surprised. I was surprised at how well the Chiefs played towards the end. I was surprised at how much the Eagles fell apart. I was surprised that the Texans turned it around so quickly, and how well the Packers played, especially later on in the year. So I am certainly going to be watching the offseason closely. I mean, we've got it's definitely gonna be interesting to see what happens with the Chicago Bears. They've got the number 1 overall pick because of a trade they made with Carolina. And no one knows if they're going to just take a quarterback and move on from Justin Fields, or maybe trade out of the pick. It kind of depends on who really wants that number 1 pick, and if they think Caleb Williams or Marvin Harrison Jr. is worth that investment. But it's going to certainly be worth watching. But in the meantime, once football season ends, I do try to get out of sports mode for a bit. I do want to do more Mass Effect streams, and probably find another game that I can stream on my PlayStation in addition to Marvel Strike Force, which I do keep intending to do. And hopefully I can maybe work on some more, set up some more of these live streams, Jack's live streams as they call them. And maybe we can, by we, I mean any guests I can bring aboard. We can set something up, whether it's talking comics, talking sports, talking video games, talking movies. We got, Madam Web is coming out next week, or maybe even this week, actually. We've also got Deadpool 3 is coming out this summer. There's certainly plenty to look forward to. I know I don't have a whole lot in terms of an audience for these streams yet, but I hope to build that. So yeah, if anyone here who sees this later is interested in joining me on a stream, just hit me up, check me out on Discord, or just leave a comment, and I'll try to get to you. But yeah, there's there's a lot to talk about, and I do want to see. I'm trying to cheat. I did try to get a some background music playing. I don't think it's playing right now. Let me try. Hold on. It doesn't look like it's playing. Yeah, I don't hear it. Oh well. If I don't hear it, then I'll try something else later. Oh well. I'll re-listen to this later, see if I can get some more. Because I'd like to maybe set up some background music for future streams. I want to try to maybe set up I might try to set some loop videos or some stock art that'll liven these up a bit. But in the meantime, I just wanted to thank you all, David Deister. Thank you very much. I appreciate you commenting and joining me for this first ever live stream. Stay tuned for some more of my videos. I've got more creepypastas coming. I will hopefully do something. Depending on how much the Deadpool 3 trailer breaks the internet, I will look into doing something with that. But for now, thank you all very much. Thank you for joining me in my world. Thanks for joining me in my time stream. So until next time, everyone, take care and stay safe.